What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on Pitchside with Parker. It was North London Derby Day, and yet another tough day as an Arsenal fan. I just woke up from my post-game sad nap. Oh man, they just hit so different, you know? Arsenal, they do something terrible on the field. They just put you into a coma, and then you wake up thinking, what the hell just happened?
Oh yeah. I'm not the type of brother to play with. See a lot of people acting like oh yeah. All ball players sounding like haters. We the young kings of this generation, oh yeah.
But anyway, thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to like the video right now before we even get started. Go ahead and show that love. Don't forget to click the like button. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. As I said in the last video, I'm doing a giveaway when I get to 50 subscribers, so keep that number ticking upwards, and we can get there pretty soon. And I'll give out more details on that as we get a little closer to that number, but definitely not anything you want to miss. And again, as I said before, it's only going to be 50 subscribers, so you got a pretty good chance of winning. So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you're new and come along for the ride. So today, I think what I'm going to do to break down this North London Derby game is do player ratings for Arsenal. Most of them are not going to be good because it was a pretty shocking display at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Arsenal really just went out with a bit of a whimper. That was the most frustrating part for me. Arsenal's wounds were certainly self-inflicted, and while that's nothing new, it was particularly frustrating in this Derby game because it felt like nobody really cared. And I know that part of that was just the atmosphere with the stadium being empty, no fans, and neither team really been too outstanding this season. It didn't quite mean as much, and you could tell that if the fans were there, it would have given it that extra lift, that extra jolt that the game really needed. But in the end, Arsenal's just gonna Arsenal. You know, go ahead 1-0 on a beautiful goal from Alex Lacazette. And then Arsenal just went back to doing what they do best. Just inexplicable acts of stupidity. But Arsenal got fully Mourinho today. You could tell he had a very simple plan. He even said it after the game. We just needed to neutralize Arsenal's wingbacks. And he realized that's where the majority of this Arsenal attack comes from, because in the 3-4-3 that Arteta likes to play, Kieran Tierney and Hector Bellerin are kind of the most key players in that. Mourinho went for a 4-4-2 so that he had two players on each wing, and that was enough to kind of neutralize Arsenal's attacking efforts down the flanks. And without that, there was a real lack of creativity through the middle. It was a real simple plan for Mourinho. He basically said, I'm going to neutralize your best thing. I'm going to hold back and let you beat yourself. Even when Arsenal scores first, even when they look good, even when they take a lead, there's always a sense of doubt. There is never certainty with Arsenal. You never can be assured that they are going to just stay in front, stay in the ascendancy. And it's really just a matter of time before they crumble. And that was clearly Mourinho's method today. And it worked quite well in the second half as Alderweireld grabbed the winner. But yes, let's get into the player ratings. I'm going to do every single Arsenal player and the subs. And then I tell you what, leave me a comment. If you disagree with these, if there's anyone in particular that you really feel like had a better or a worse game than I said, let me know in the comments and feel free to correct me. But we're going to jump into it. We'll start in goal with Emi Martinez. I've been meaning to say this in a video, but oh my goodness, Emi Martinez has to have been one of the best players in this team ever since Leno went down. Everybody was so uncertain. Leno had been a real savior this season, and as I've said in past videos, I agree that Leno's been really good this season. But I said it. You can go back and watch. Martinez is very, very solid, and there's actually not a huge difference between him and Leno. In fact, the only difference that I can spot so far is that Martinez is actually better at communicating with his back line, and he's a little bit better with his feet as well. People tried to say that Arsenal brought Leno in because he was a more new agey keeper who would come off his line and be good with his feet. I never really saw that from Leno, and Martinez for the most part, has been really good, especially his long distribution. He always finds his man, and he makes better decisions with it than Leno in terms of he's not afraid to just boot the ball out. But he made a couple outstanding saves today, one on Vertonghen, who had ripped a shot from about 35 yards. Outstanding save onto the crossbar. Had a couple of nice one-on-one saves against Harry Kane. And he was just really commanding in the box as well. And you can't say either of the goals were his fault, really. So Martinez gets an 8 from me. All right, we'll go across the back line, right to left now, and start with Hector Bellerin. Some questions as to who should be starting at right back, I would say, to be honest. And Bellerin didn't make a great case for himself today. I think it wasn't his worst game that we've seen recently, and he certainly wasn't the worst along the back line, but I'd have to give him pretty much just an average 5. I think he was okay defensively. He had some moments going forward. Today was the first day I'd actually seen him beat players, like towards the end line and stuff, and so that was nice to see for him. But for the most part, he was really neutralized, as I said before, by Mourinho's tactics, and didn't really get a whole lot of service into the box, which I would like to see more of from Bellerin. So for me, 5 for Bellerin. And now we'll go for the center backs. And this is where it got ugly for Arsenal. We'll start with Mustafi, and quite frankly, he was the worst player on the pitch this afternoon. Shkodran Mustafi, I had this feeling in my head before the game. I was thinking to myself, it's just been a little too long since we've seen one of those Mustafi performances. And yeah, he brought out the vintage stuff today. I mean, crack it open, break the seal. Whew, it's been aging, and it came back with some bite today. Mustafi was terrible one-on-one defensively. He got spun by Harry Kane. He wasn't winning headers. He was taking terrible angles to the ball. It just all around terrible performance from Mustafi. Even though he didn't make an individual error that led to a goal at any point, he was still the worst defender on the field. And I think that says a lot about his performance today. So Mustafi gets a 2 from me. Moving over to David Luiz. He also gets a 2 from me. Yes, Mustafi was the worst player on the field, but Luiz was also terrible. Again, a run of good games, and then stuff like this just comes out of nowhere. He looked particularly flat-footed today. Obviously, the goal that Arsenal gave up, the first one, where Kolasinac passed it back to him, he literally couldn't turn his hips fast enough, and Son wasn't even pressing the ball and was still able to get in behind with no pressure. So he just looked off, and even in the opening minutes, he lost Harry Kane on some runs, and he wasn't very commanding. The one thing I've always stuck up on him about is that he's a guy who shows a lot of leadership, and Arsenal was crying out for a leader today. It didn't come from Xhaka. It didn't come from Luiz. It didn't come from the captain, Aubameyang. Nobody really showed it today, and I was disappointed in that from Luiz, because at the very least, you'd hope that that's what he can give you. So he also gets a 2. And then the final of the 3 center backs, Kolasinac, he gets a 3 for me. Ever so slightly better than Luiz and Mustafi, but mostly just because he didn't make as many mistakes. I think he was mainly at fault for the first goal, more so than Luiz, actually, although Luiz had plenty of time to make up the ground that he lost. And it's just sad, bro. Like, he can't make a right-footed pass 8 yards back on the field. He looked up at Luiz. He saw the way he was running. And still, instead of passing it out to where there would be no pressure for Luiz, he passed it in to where Son was, missed the pass by about 3 yards, and Luiz is still moving away from the ball, which allowed Son to sneak in and get it. That single pass was so appalling. And Kolasinac wasn't terrible the rest of the game, but just for that one alone, he drops down to a 3. And then on the other side, Kieran Tierney. I'd say he tops out at a 4 today, because Tierney, as I said before, has been one of Arsenal's best attacking players ever since he's been back in the lineup. And he just showed nothing today. He was patterned by Sissoko. He was patterned by Aurier. And yes, the tactics were designed to shut him down, but he couldn't even get off a single service. And on top of that, he didn't do a whole lot defensively. So I was just very underwhelmed by Tierney today. And honestly, I've come to expect more from him. And he's another player where I would expect a little more fight from him in this game, and I didn't see it. So Tierney gets a 4. Next, we'll do the midfield duo of Xhaka and Ceballos. I'm going to give them both 6s. I think that they're in a really challenging position because when you look at the 3-4-3, you got your 3 defenders, you got the wing backs outside of them, and then 2 wide forwards and 1 central. When you look at the middle of the park, there is just a whole lot of ground for Ceballos and Xhaka to cover. Of course, neither one of them is particularly good at covering ground, so it's a big challenge for them, and I definitely feel for them. That being said, they did an okay job of it today. I think at times their pressing is a little weird, where if one of them goes and presses high up the field, then it really doubles down on the lack of bodies in the midfield. So that hurt Arsenal at times, but for the most part, they were trying their hardest. You know, they were trying to progress the ball, trying to pass it well. Each one of them made a couple of good kind of key passes in and around the box, but you can't give them really higher than a 6 because neither of them ever unlocked the defense at any point, and it definitely could have been better. Next, we'll get to the front 3. From left to right, it was Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Pepe. I'll start with Aubameyang and say that he had one of his worst games since the restart. I'm going to give Aubameyang a 4 out of 10 in this game. He had a couple of really easy chances that he should have converted. One on the pass from Lacazette that hit the crossbar. Simply put, he should not be missing that. He is in the run for Golden Boot. I don't care if it's on your left foot. Slot that home. He tried to just hit it a little too hard and didn't focus enough on the placement. And that would have made the game 2-1 for Arsenal, and I think given us kind of a push late on. He also had a couple missed chances in the first half as well, and just looked off the pace. He wasn't super involved. He wasn't making a lot of runs in behind, which at times when he's not involved, it's more so because of the service. He makes the runs and people don't find him. But in this game, it wasn't even a lot of running in behind. And part of that was the low block that Tottenham had set up for a good part of the game, but he was very underwhelming today. But in the middle, the shining man of the match for me, Alex Lacazette. He gets so much abuse, so much slander from Arsenal fans. He's always second fiddle to Aubameyang, but he played his ass off today. And that's saying a lot. The goal he scored, oh my goodness. I had not felt such a high watching an Arsenal game in so long. I've seen laser beams with less accuracy than that. The strike, the technique, the power, the grace of it all. Beautiful, Lacazette. It was wonderful. And then, of course, 2 minutes later they concede, so we didn't really quite get to fully experience all of that. Thank you, Arsenal. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Kolasinac, for that one. But Lacazette had a wonderful game. In addition to the goal, his hold-up play was really good. I think he's figuring out the 3-4-3 in terms of when he needs to come back, when he needs to support and kind of play that false 9 type of role. And he's pretty good at it as well. I mean, his hold-up play is really solid, and his passing has been impressive in and around the box. Like the chance that Aubameyang had that he hit off the crossbar was all set up by a great pass from Lacazette. So he does a lot of work in addition to his finishing ability. And he was, to me, the best player for Arsenal and the best player on the field in total today. So Lacazette gets a 9 from me. And then finally, right wing, Nico Pepe. He finds himself a bit adrift at times. This was his first start in a few games, but I have to say I was pretty impressed with him, especially towards the start of the second half and the end of the first half. The way Pepe found success in this game was floating inside because, as I said before, the wings are really, really stopped up in Arsenal's formation. You got the wide center backs, you got the full backs, and then you got the wide forwards. And so by kind of letting Bellerin go up and do his thing, Pepe would cut inside, and he just looked so much more dangerous. He had a little more space and angles, different angles on the ball to try to dribble and go past people. He can cut in on that left foot and look for a pass or look for a shot. And genuinely, he looked very dangerous, especially at the beginning of the half. And just consistently fouled by Tottenham. This is something that has really, really frustrated me this entire season with Pepe, is that it feels like every time he gains some momentum, the other teams just start fouling him. And, I get it. It's not fun to get embarrassed. he's one of the best players in the Premier League at embarrassing defenders, but it just gets to a point where it's so frustrating. And I think if referees were a little more consistent with giving persistent infringement fouls, or yellow cards specifically, they could really cut down on that, and it would improve the quality of the game, because Pepe is essentially just getting punished for being better than everybody else. And that's not really very fair. And he ended up getting dragged off today partly because he was on a yellow and he was a little bit tired from all the beating he had been taking. So, solid game for Pepe. I'll give him a 7 because I thought he was, besides Lacazette, he was the most dangerous player on the field for Arsenal. So I was really impressed with him. Quickly, I'll run through the subs. Saka gets a 6 for me. He was pretty solid when he came on, and I was excited to see what he would bring to the attack. But then Arsenal was forced into some changes after the goal, and he had to go back to left back where he was, a bit neutralized towards the end of the game. So, solid performance from Saka. He had some energy. He showed a little bit of passion at the end of the game when he got really frustrated with Xhaka, and it helped to at least see that somebody cared a little bit that we were losing the game at that point. And I thought he deserved a start today, but I understand the young man needs some rest, so I get it, but I wish to have seen a little bit more of him today. And then the other 3 subs only played about 6 minutes apiece. It was Reece Nelson, Joe Willock, and Cedric Suarez. To me, none of them made a huge impact, but I will give a shout out to Willock because, again, Willock, much like Saka, was one of the only players who really showed he cared at all today. There was just no fight. There was no energy. And when Willock came on the field, he was running. He was buzzing. He was trying to push people forward, motivate the team, and actually play an attacking way and go for the game at the end to at least try to get a point out of it. And there just wasn't enough of that, man. Like, Arsenal has academy graduates all throughout the field. Hector Bellerin. People always talk about him as a captain. Where was he? Planting trees? Quiet in the forest, Hector Bellerin. David Luiz, fraudulent. Aubameyang, not leading. Xhaka wasn't directing any type of traffic. I mean, there's so many candidates for people who could really take charge. Tierney, everybody's favorite. None of them showed up today. And as much as I would love to, give Arsenal laurels for having a good performance and having a lot of possession and, they should have won the game, we didn't deserve to win that game. Arsenal's been shocking all season. There wasn't enough energy today, and it came back to bite him against a smarter manager who played a really simple game plan and made Arsenal look stupid. But yeah, I think I got everybody, so that is it for the player ratings. Again, if you agree, if you disagree, if you would change a rating for any of the players, let me know in the comments below. And if you like this type of video, definitely let me know that as well, because this, I think, is a fun way to kind of break down Arsenal games. So if you want to see more of that, be sure to give this video a like and leave a comment saying that. But yeah, a sad derby day indeed, but I'll be back with more videos. I don't know exactly how often I'll be posting. I'm kind of in this process right now. For those who don't know me as well personally, I just moved out of school. I just moved back home. I'm kind of struggling to find places to record these videos. As I said, not super excited about a lot of the Arsenal stuff coming up, so it may be a little dry in terms of the videos, but I'll try to keep coming out with stuff. And for real, every single person who's been watching these, every single person who's subscribed, and even those of you who are not, or this may be the first video you've seen, I really, really genuinely appreciate it, because this has been one of the only things during quarantine kind of, keeping me going, keeping me having something to do, something to look forward to, something to think about and be creative with. And it would feel really crappy if I was doing it and I wasn't getting any support. So the support that you guys have shown has been awesome, and I really appreciate it, and keep it up, because the more you can keep me motivated, the better this is going to be and the further I'm going to want to take it. So on that note, I'll leave you for this one, but be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video with your friends, and until next time, see you later. Peace.